I'm going to give Dr. Julie an opportunity to define what perimenopause is and who specifically it affects.
You got it. So when we think menopause, average age in this country is about 51.
Okay.
That does not mean that's when symptoms start.
Exactly.
We can see symptoms start late 30s, 40s, and they can really last 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But menopause itself is really the absence of a menstrual cycle for 1 year.
Okay.
So it's
Welcome back to Candid Convos with Nurse E. If you have not met me, I am Nurse E, and today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Julie with us today.
Hello.
And how we met, we'll talk about a little bit later, but we have a very, very interesting topic that my women 30 plus
That's right.
are going to really benefit from today. We are talking about perimenopause, menopause, all things pauses, okay? Now, she has all the answers for you, so I want you to take some time, maybe get a pen, pad, write some things down, leave a comment. Also, too, share this video with whoever you think will benefit from all the gems that Dr. Julie is going to give us today. So, Dr. Julie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Yes,
so excited to be here talking to you.
Should be, because
So
you
excited.
have such a powerful message for the viewers.
Yes.
And so before we hop in, Dr. Julie.
Yes.
How do you practice right now? Tell us a little bit about how you practice.
So right now I have what we call a concierge practice.
So
And-
define the concierge.
Sure. So a little bit of background. I was in traditional medicine before. About
Okay.
6 years ago, I decided to step away from that. I was working for a large hospital system.
Yeah.
I was raising babies and doing
Yes.
all the things until one day I decided that just wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was giving my patients enough time. I wasn't being able to be the doctor I needed them, or they needed from me.
Yeah.
So about 6 years ago, I raised some babies. I had 3 at the time, have 4 now, and recently decided, I want to go back into practice, but on my own terms.
Yeah.
So I opened up a company called Revitalive in Westminster, Maryland, and we do concierge medicine. And what that means is my patients have 24/7 access to me. We have same-day appointments. We have unlimited time with my patients. I really have a really special relationship with my patients. I'm not worried about all the paperwork and all the bureaucratic nightmares anymore. And I get to
Yeah.
practice medicine how I want to practice and how it should be.
That is such an awesome way to practice. And I know every provider, if they had the opportunity, would want
Absolutely.
to do that. Okay, so with that being said, and you managing, motherhood and being a wife and your practice, I just imagine that you're in a really, really happy space right now.
Yes, it's busy, hectic, but very, very happy. I can't, there's no complaints on my end so far.
Okay.
Yep,
Have you seen where it's managed your stress?
Well, it's added a lot of stress. Motherhood alone, owning a business, being a wife. So I own a few medical practices at this point.
Yeah.
I also own an infusion center and a rheumatology practice also in Westminster.
Got you.
I also dabble in other things, but learning how to navigate the stress with certain sleep and certain exercises for my mind and for my body was crucial.
Right.
Also, I'm at a different stage. My children are not as young anymore. My youngest is 4. So I have a little bit more freedom, more flexibility. At a time, if this was 4 years ago and trying to do all the things, I would have set myself up for failure, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, we're so good that you had guidance on navigating this particular season and how it is flourishing. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Very happy that you're here today. So let's go ahead on and jump right in on what we're going to talk about today. So before we do deep dive questions into perimenopause and menopause, I'm going to give Dr. Julie an opportunity to define what perimenopause is and who specifically it affects.
You got it. First of all, I want to say I'm so excited that people are actually talking about it because 20 years ago, this was such a taboo subject. Nobody was talking about it. All women were kind of suffering in silence. Really not the case anymore. We
Yeah.
see it booming, and I'm so glad that people like yourself are actually
Yes.
taking the time to talk about it. So thank you. So when we think menopause, average age in this country is about 51.
Okay.
That does not mean that's when symptoms start.
Exactly.
We can see symptoms start late 30s, 40s, and they can really last 10, 15 years, unfortunately.
So 10, 15 years from 30,
From like
40
mid to late 30s if you're starting symptoms at that time. And symptoms can vary from women to women, also making it kind of confusing to treat. So I'd like to talk about that. But menopause itself is really the absence of a menstrual cycle for 1 year.
Okay.
So it's really, that's important to keep in mind. You have to be without a period for 1 year.
Okay.
Yep.
And then perimenopause is just a cluster of symptoms.
Cluster of all the symptoms you're going to have going into that season of your life. And the symptoms vary. Like I said, we have symptoms from I can't sleep, which is a really popular one, to the hot flashes that you see in all the TV shows and everything. Their hair changes, sex drive. I mean, there's so many different mood changes, memory changes. There's so many changes that women can experience.
So let me ask you this question. This is not one of the questions that's listed on my list.
Okay.
But how can that not be confused with a nutritional deficiency and or stress?
Yeah.
You know, how do you differentiate between perimenopausal symptoms and then symptoms from another disease?
Yep. So you're right. It is very difficult to distinguish. Having a provider who's going to sit and listen to you and kind of tease out all these symptoms are going to be crucial. Lab workups are absolutely necessary. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're being gaslit, which many women are at this phase of their lives when they're going to the doctors, it's best to find somebody else. Do the workup, do the homework, and start there.
And just give me an example and the viewers an example. What are prominent labs specifically that a woman can get that would identify if she is perimenopausal?
Okay, so they're all going to overlap, right? So you want to make sure they're not vitamin deficiencies, for example. So a woman can come in saying, I'm feeling really fatigued. You want to make sure their thyroid levels are checked. You want to make sure that their B12 levels are checked, because yes, that can be a deficiency.
Yeah.
Checking your hormone levels while you're still in perimenopause is difficult because they can fluctuate so much. Your estrogen levels are up and down. So it's really hard to know where you are in your cycle when you're checking those levels. So I would be very wary of that, making sure you go to a provider to check it at the right time.
Right.
But you want to make sure your labs, like your hemoglobin, are normal. You want to make sure you're not anemic. Is there something else going on?
Yes.
That's why these labs are so important.
You're correct in that, because I would at night sweat.
Yes.
A lot of different things. Until I started working with a naturopath, I didn't even know. I just thought I had it at night. But once he started doing some deeper digging, he let me know that hormonally I was off, you know, and so he fixed it.
Great.
So I don't have those sweats at night anymore. You know, my energy was really hard for me to tell, but the biggest component was those sweats at night.
Yep, that's a really common one.
Yeah.
And memory. We're seeing a lot of mental changes with menopause. Yeah. Yep.
Like dementia?
No,
Brain
like memory
fog?
fog. Yeah.
Okay.
Problems with memory recall, especially short term, brain fog, stuff like that. Mood changes, anxiety, depressive symptoms.
And just to that point, Dr. Julie, I'm learning more about gut health.
Yes.
And all of those symptoms can be prominent when someone has a hyperpermeable gut, and or you probably have heard the term leaky gut.
Leaky gut.
So there is a major workup that has to be done in order to rule out perimenopause.
I mean, you're talking gut microbiomes, but there's also things like your eye microbiome, which is not as well studied and we don't know about. So we're seeing eye changes in perimenopause, difficulty with their vision, things like that we just don't know enough about.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of exciting research being done.
Yes. And so what specifically made you so passionate about this particular topic?
So women's health was always popular, was always a passion of mine. And that's because I was in a practice predominantly of men. And most of them, I don't want to say didn't feel comfortable, but a lot of patients preferred having a female doing their women's health exams. So my passion really started there. But as I started aging, I'm turning 40 this year, and I'm already having symptoms, I just became more and more interested in it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So let's hop into some questions, guys. Now, question number 1. What are the most common misconceptions you hear from women about perimenopause and menopause? And how do you help them reframe their understanding?
The first one being that women feel like they're too young to have the symptoms. So, like I said, average age 51, we're having symptoms well before that. So you are not too young. If you're in your late 30s, early 40s, please talk to your doctor. And there's no stigma attached with it anymore. Have those open and honest conversations. The second being hormone replacement.
Okay.
You know, we were told for so long that hormones are bad for you. They're going to give you cancer. They're going to give you a clot. And that's really not the case anymore. We have new guidelines coming out every single day that's showing the use of hormone replacement is so beneficial in women's health.
Now, let me speak to that point, the hormone replacement. Are there ways in which we can adjust our diet to, I don't want to say create hormones because we already have them, but more so balance out the levels, the estrogen levels and the progesterone levels?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to find people out there that are say like, oh, you're going to have to do this diet or that diet. I'm a big believer of balanced diet. I don't believe in restrictive eating, especially in this time of our lives. Protein intake is going to be your best friend.
Yes.
And what I tell people is, if, for example, you are 150 pound, if that's your goal, for example, that's going to be your protein goal for the day. And the reason for that is our bone density or our muscle mass is really decreasing as we get older every single day. That stuff is breaking down. Protein intake is going to be your best friend. And as long as you have normal kidney function, there's no reason to think that you couldn't have that amount of protein.
Right. If you're working with your provider, then you know what your kidneys look
Exactly.
like. Protein is your friend. That's what Dr. Julie is telling us.
Protein is your best friend.
And no skipping breakfast. No skipping meals. You've got to give your body what it needs. It doesn't matter if you're hungry or not.
I know. So,
and if you're not hungry, that's an issue.
If you're waking up not hungry, that is a big sign of something is happening. So what I tell my patients is 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of awakening.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of an easy way to keep that in your mind. And there's so many different ways to get that protein in. You want to make sure you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, even if it's a protein bar or a protein drink. I'm okay with that. But you need to get that protein. It's more food than you would imagine.
Yeah. And I definitely have to do a better job with that. I've started going to the farm, Hidden Waters Farm, excuse me, and getting a lot of protein from there. I should be picking up my box today.
Oh, great.
Yes.
So I love that for you.
I'm working on that.
It's so important. And especially for our bone health. I mean, we're talking about a breakdown of bone. You hit your peak bone density at 30.
Wow.
So every year after that, the breakdown is outpacing its makeup.
Wow.
So having all of those healthy proteins is going to be really important for that.
Yes. 30 grams, 30 minutes.
Within awakening,
Yes, that's good. That's really good. All right. Next question. Many women feel dismissed or overlooked when they bring up symptoms to their providers. How can patients advocate for themselves more effectively during this transition?
So they're feeling that way, it's because they are being dismissed. We have really good studies and data that's coming out that is women are being gaslit by providers. And it's not usually intentional, but there is a problem with that. What I tell patients is speak up, because if you don't speak up for yourself, nobody else will. Find somebody else. There are a ton of great providers out there. Find somebody else who's going to take the time to listen to you.
Yeah. That's very, very important. So don't feel like you have to be committed to a provider, especially if the provider is not giving you what it is that you need, what it is that you're looking for. Remember, guys, when you're looking for a provider, you want someone who is going to listen to you, and y'all are going to be a team. So it's not a dictatorship.
It's not.
It's supposed to be an exchange where you guys are both learning from each other, growing with one another as well.
That's right.
Make sense? Now, can you talk about the connection between hormonal shifts and mental health during this stage of life, and how you support your patients emotionally as well as physically?
Mental health, I'm really glad is getting a lot of attention right now. And mental health during menopause is a very, very big topic, because we're seeing a lot of anxiety and depressive symptoms come from women who are experiencing perimenopause and menopause. So in addition to having someone to talk to like a therapist, I really encourage women to think about hormone replacement. And hormone replacement can look very different for all the women involved, whether you have a uterus or not, or what your background is. hormone replacement in menopause is a great, great option for that. And exercise. So we all know the link between exercise and mental health is a really big one.
Right.
And even if it's that 30 minutes outside every single day, getting that sunshine into your eyes, it's really hard because once we get into this cycle of I don't want to do anything, so you don't exercise, but then again you don't want to do anything. It's really hard to break that cycle. So what I tell patients is I don't care what you're doing. Go outside, take your dog for a walk, go to the mailbox. I need you outside getting that sunshine in. And that's really, really important.
Now, to add on to that, is the anxiety and depression just linked to the hormonal shift, or is it connected to like, wow, like I'm getting older?
I think it's a combination of both, right? Your brain is getting flooded with all these fluctuations of hormones. So that's really hard. Plus you're looking back and saying, oh my God, like my body doesn't look the way it used to. My sex drive isn't the way it used to be, or, you know, so many things have changed. I think it's truly a combination of both. I do.
Because I think before I knew what I know now, it's more like my womanhood is changing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's say you didn't have any children and you wanted to have children. You may feel a certain type of way because, you know, my time is up.
I get that.
You know what I mean? So I think that there's a lot of emotional components.
I agree with you. They feel like their purpose almost in life has, you know, has gone. And now they're like, now what? But this is an exciting time. I don't want women to think like your life is over. It's not. This is just the beginning, right? We know women in menopause, we're going to be faster, bigger, stronger than we ever were before. Okay, so this should be a sign of encouragement to everyone who's watching. Your life is not over. This is just the beginning. You're embarking on this new journey. And really taking control of your life. And that's really where I think women shine.
And when they're embarking on this new journey, what does that look like for some of your clients, for some of the women that you work with? What have they started to do where it's like, oh my gosh, like
lifting weights? That has been the biggest thing.
Wow.
Women who weren't lifting weights before are now lifting weights and heavy weights and feeling stronger. So when you're going to the gym, I don't want you lifting those 5-pound weights, maybe to begin, but I want you to lift as heavy as you safely can do. Maybe under the supervision of someone to begin with. But as heavy as you can. And there's a sense of empowerment with that. So that would I say was the biggest thing.
That's
And
really good.
I love the idea of women lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week. I also love the idea of women wearing these weighted vests. And you don't have to wear them when you're exercising only. You can wear them when you're washing the dishes or you're folding the laundry. If you're wearing 30 minutes, 10 to 15% of your body weight a few times a week, we have really good data that's helping your bone density.
I need to get me a weighted vest.
You need to get yourself a weighted vest.
Do you have any recommendations? Because we definitely can put it in the description.
I just teamed up with a great women-owned company out in California named Rucker. I'll send you a link for that. Who've been absolutely wonderful. The founder is really, really passionate about bone health. And like me, we have a lot of conversations about it. And it's really exciting stuff, right? You're looking at like these older women who are looking really great.
My brother, he just got one. My older sister just got one. And now this conversation with you, I'm like,
you need to get one. And honestly, you don't have to wear it doing anything other than just moving. That's it.
Definitely. I'm going to look into that. And you should too. Drop a comment and let me know, hey, I'm going to get a weighted vest too. I would love to hear about it, okay?
Everyone get a weighted vest.
You get one, you get one.
Right.
Everybody. Okay. What role do lifestyle factors like diet, sleep, and stress management play in managing perimenopause or menopause symptoms? And where should women start if they feel overwhelmed?
So they really it affects every part of our lives, not only for perimenopausal and menopausal women, but men and women included. We know that sleep deprivation plays a huge role in stress responses, right? We really want to get 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. That is huge. A balanced, healthy diet, rich in protein, is very helpful. Exercise for your mind and for your body. I tell patients, like, you don't need to be working out like crazy every single day. That's not realistic and that's not sustainable. 30 minutes of exercise a day will change your life.
I had to come up. I love to be at the gym. and I love to exercise.
Okay.
But life has just become very, very busy. Yes. So I was like, okay, I have to come up with a different type of workout plan.
Great.
So I work out 6 days a week, but 3 days I'm walking.
Love it.
So that's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday is Pilates.
Okay.
Okay. I will incorporate some squats.
I was going to say, I like to see some weights in there.
Yeah. I need to incorporate more of the weights. I'm not scared of weights.
Yeah,
I've just gotten away from it.
Okay.
So I will definitely get back on that. So I'm getting all of these tips. Like, I mean, get back on board.
Yeah, I love Pilates, though. I think it's just a great addition to anybody's workout routine.
Yes.
I do. I love it. And I love walking. I really do. I want people to understand the importance of weightlifting, especially in perimenopause.
Yes. So now we know that we can wear our weighted vests with our walks.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, does that substitute weightlifting, or is it a form of weightlifting?
It's an addition to.
It's an addition to. Okay.
Yep.
Got you.
Yes.
Let me ask a question about the symptoms.
Got it.
Hot flashes.
Yes.
Weight gain.
Yes.
Brain fog.
Yes.
Are these inevitable, or can women fight back?
We can fight back. We have lots of tools in our toolbox. And I want women to know that you have the power to fight back. This is not something we have to suffer with anymore.
Right. Okay. So what are some tools?
So you really want to talk to your provider. Like I said, start that workup. Make sure that there's nothing, that we're not missing anything out. Make sure your cancer screenings are up to date. Make sure your labs are up to date. Your mammogram, pap smear, colon cancer screenings are going to be very, very important, especially during this season.
Okay.
But you really want to make sure eating healthy diets, getting exercise, considering replacements. These are all tools in your toolbox now that we don't have to sit there anymore.
Got you. All right. I've got one more question.
Let's hear it.
How do you create individualized care plans for women
That's a great question.
going through perimenopause or menopause, especially when symptoms vary so widely? What you've been talking about.
So I usually set aside about 2.5 hours when I do an intake with a woman.
Okay.
And I don't only see women; I'll also see men in my practice. I'll set about 2.5 hours. It gives me a great time to sit down and ask them about everything, from family history to symptoms that they're having. And I mean, I have time to ask every single review of systems, right?
Yes.
So the time that I have allows me to do that. I do a very personalized workup. So sometimes these blood, it's like 17, 18 vials of blood. And these are not blood tests that your regular doctor's doing at your regular visit. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that there are additional labs. We try to code under their insurance so they're not stuck with a huge bill. That's a whole nother episode. But it's a huge metabolic workup that we're doing. And I like to make sure, like I do bone density on site. So women are not really eligible for bone density until a certain age. And honestly, the test is really inexpensive, that even if you had to pay out of pocket, I would do it. I've done it on myself. And I really encourage women to do that. And men are also at risk for bone health, bone disease. So I want to make sure men out there understand that their bones are also getting brittle, and to have that screen. So the time really allows me to do that.
Okay. So longer period of time, not just a 15, 30 minute visit with your provider will not do you any justice.
It won't.
You need at least 90 minutes.
At least.
To 120 minutes to sit, because once the foundation is laid and you know all the signs and symptoms and everything that you as a client are going through, then we can actually do a thorough workup to get you answers.
That's right. And I'm really lucky that I get to check. My patients have my cell phone number, so I can check in. Hey, did you get to the gym today? Or hey, tell me about that protein smoothie you had this morning. I really have a special relationship with my patients, and I get to go into their homes, right? I get to know their families. I see their day-to-day. I'm really lucky that I get to practice.
I was getting ready to say, you're really, really lucky. And you might also need a health coach.
I need more help. I'm really, really lucky.
Yeah, you are. You are. And
really
they're lucky to have you.
Thank you for saying
You understand what I'm saying? Because they have a provider that's willing to be patient with them and listen to them. I mean, I don't think that providers don't want to be patient and they don't want to listen.
They're stuck in this system that's very, very, very broken.
Yes.
And I'm very lucky that I keep my panel very small. I cap my patients at 50. Right? So when you go to a health provider who's in a big hospital system, for example, they have have thousands of patients.
Yeah.
Even the concierge practice groups out there, those private equity groups that own these concierge practices, they have 400 or 500 patients.
Yeah.
I really cap my patients small because that's the lifestyle I want, right? I have 4 children that I'm raising and a life outside of that. But you really want to have someone who's going to take the time.
But it's funny that you said that, because with my private functional medicine practice, I only want 4 patients a month.
That's smart.
Yeah. So 4 patients times 12, that's 48 patients.
That's plenty.
It is for them to get the care that they need. And then once they're healthy, you can replace.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you're going to continue to follow up with them, you know.
And it really limits provider burnout.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I really like about this model, because when I was working for the hospital system, it's not just unique to them, it's all hospital systems.
Yeah.
You really have to see a certain amount of patients on a certain amount of days, and I have the luxury, I don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So you want to find a provider like Dr. Julie or a provider like me.
That's right.
Okay? Where you, and I think it helps people feel important.
Yes.
Like, wow, you know, you're taking 2 hours with me, you're following up, you know what my home looks like, you know what food I'm eating, you know if I'm going to the gym. It's like, wow, somebody really cares about me.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
I'm not just a number being called back in a waiting room, you know,
Yeah.
a dingy old waiting room. So that I think that's really important. And I really love to see that's where medicine is headed.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
And
I think
and
so.
we're a part of the wave.
Yeah, I
we're
agree.
actually ahead of it.
I think so. I like to think so.
So any other tips that you would like to leave with our audience in regards to perimenopause? I think you've done a good job with
Thank you.
letting
The
us
biggest
know.
thing I wanted to drive home was please, please, please talk to your provider. You have a lot of tools in your tool belt to fight against this. You do not have to suffer in silence. We have so many options now, and I'm so glad people are talking about it. In Baltimore next year, we're going to be hosting a huge symposium for patients to come. It's not for doctors, just for patients to come. And they're going to hear from providers. They're going to be treated to little spa days.
Wow.
It's going to be really, really great. I'll send you the info when I get it.
Yes.
I just want people to know there is information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
Know where you're getting your information from and go with it.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
When a woman has not had a period for a year and is believing that she is menopausal, but then all of a sudden she starts bleeding. I don't know if you guys were thinking of this question, but I'm covering it for you.
Okay.
What does that indicate?
She needs to be seen by her provider.
Yeah.
You need to be seen by the provider for a reason is, are you having abnormal uterine bleeding that we need to investigate for a cause that can be malignant?
Exactly.
It could be nothing. It could absolutely be nothing.
Yeah.
But it definitely needs to be investigated.
Yes. And that's what I share with her. I was like, you need to see your provider.
You need to see, you may need biopsy. And that's okay. You want to make sure that it's normal.
Yeah. If you haven't had a period for a year
That's
or
right.
2 years, and then all of a sudden you're bleeding, you need to go and see your
You
provider.
still need to go see your provider for vaginal exams. So once you're in menopause, that does not exclude you from seeing vaginal exams anymore. You absolutely do. And you still need pelvic exams.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Bimanual pelvic exams.
Yes, because it's just wellness.
It is just wellness.
It's just wellness for that area.
You know what I'm seeing a lot of patients do, and I actually did it myself recently, was these full body scans. Have you heard of those?
Yes, I have heard about them.
I just had one done. I was in DC. I got one done. I was offered one, and I took it up, and it was so detailed. I mean, especially on the woman's reproductive tract.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they gave line by line ovary and fallopian tube and uterine. I mean, they really gave you a really nice insight of what's happening there. And that's what I call proactive health, right? We're not reacting to any diagnosis. We're proactively looking for something that I would not have known before.
So send me that information as well, so I can put that in the description. And whoever is watching, wherever they're watching from, at least they have an idea of what to go out and look for if they want to get it done.
I used a company called Prenuvo. They're in DC. They have another one in New York. I thought they were clean, professional. It took only a few days to get my response on my report, and they looked for 500 different ailments, which I thought was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you pay out of pocket?
Out of pocket.
Yes.
Your insurance will not cover it.
Right.
Yeah. And it only took an hour.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it was going to take longer than that.
Yeah.
But that's an example of what I call proactive health, and that's what I offer my patients. We're not going to react. We're going to stay ahead of it.
Period. That's what I'm about to.
That's right.
Let's get it done early.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Reverse things.
That's right.
So,
or catch it before it's too late.
Exactly.
So
Dr. Julie, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
much.
This was so fun.
Yes, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate all of the gems and the knowledge that you have shared with me. and with my audience as well. And so as I end every episode,
Okay.
you were fearfully and wonderfully made. You have a purpose, a hope, and a future that is attached to you. And I hope that this conversation with myself and Dr. Julie help you see what you need to do in order to continue to pursue your purpose. And so until the next time, I will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.